It started like any other night for them. 3 armed men, dressed in black, stormed into a quiet home. Inside, the owner of the house was pinned to the floor in the living room. His face was pale with fear. Dom kept him down while holding a loaded gun. Philly stood by the window, checking outside, watching the streets, making sure no one saw what was happening. Judas, the leader, searched the house. His eyes were sharp, like someone who had done this too many times. Then he found it, a brown leather bag zipped shut. He opened it, stacks of dollars, enough to change their lives. Judas walks back into the living room, holding that money bag. He gives a quick signal to Philly, and he hands Philly the brown leather bag. Time to go. We got what we came for. Dom leans down to the house owner. His voice is low, serious. Listen, he says, you stay quiet. You make one sound, you alarm the neighbors, and things will get really, really ugly for you. The owner just nods, silent, shaking. He's terrified, and you can understand why. Let's go, Judas says, looking at Dom. Leave that fool. Dom, let's go. Dom starts walking towards the exit, but just as he gets to the door in the living room, something makes him look back. And what he sees, it stops him cold. Judas is holding a big knife. Before Dom can even understand what's happening, Judas rushes the house owner and stabs him right there on the ground. No! Dom yells. In the car, Philly glances at Dom in the rearview mirror. He sees the look on Dom's face, a mix of shock and horror. There's a heavy silence in the car. Dom, Philly finally says, what's with that face? He stabbed him, Dom replies, his voice barely a whisper. What? He did what? Judas, is that true? Philly asks, his eyes wide. Keep driving, Philly, Judas says, his voice calm, chillingly calm. And that's it. Total silence. The car just keeps speeding off, carrying the 3 men and their bloody secret into the night. They drive for a while, until they reach a small building hidden away in a bushy, overgrown area. The car pulls up, and the 3 men get out, walking into the house.
Inside, the house is rough, but it's well lit. You can see 3 wooden chairs around a simple table in the middle of the room. On the table, there are packs of cigarettes and green bottles of beer. Just a typical hideout, you know? Dom can't hold it in anymore. He rushes towards Judas, pushing him against the wall with his elbow. He pulls out his gun and points it right at Judas's head. You want to shoot me? Judas shouts, his eyes daring Dom. Go ahead. I am not like you, Dom says, his voice trembling with anger. He slowly lets go of Judas, stepping back and takes a seat at the table. Philly, who's been watching all this, finally speaks up. I thought we all agreed not to hurt anyone during these jobs, he says, looking at Judas. But this always falls on deaf ears for you, Judas. Judas just shrugs. I did what I needed to do. And then it starts. Dom and Philly are both arguing with Judas. They tell him what he did was wrong, that he's getting worse, that he always ignores their plans and just does what he wants. The air is thick with anger and betrayal. After a long time, the arguments quiet down. They sit far apart from each other, and one could tell they are in deep thought. The next morning, the 3 men sit around the table. The brown leather bag full of money is right there between them. Dom looks at the money, then at the other 2. Before we start sharing this, he says, his voice serious, remember, this is our last job. I really think we should use this money for something good. Philly scoffs. We can't do anything good with blood money, he says, his voice flat. Maybe you should give me Philly's share then, Judas says, a slight smirk on his face. Philly shakes his head. Have we ever stopped to think, he asks, looking at both of them, that we're going to get caught one day, or Are we ever going to have enough of this, no matter how much money we get? No one says anything for a moment. Dom breaks the silence. I'm going to start a farm, he says, his eyes lighting up. A modern farm. It's something my family has always done. A kind of tradition. Philly nods. Well, he says, I'm going to go back to selling gadgets, and I'm going to get married. Leave this whole life behind. For good. Judas, who's been quiet, just listening, finally speaks. He looks from Dom to Philly, a cynical look on his face. Do you guys even know how much your businesses will cost? Do you know how many times they might fail? And if you choose to settle down with a lady and have children, have you thought about the price that comes with that? He pauses. Well, I wish you both well, but as for me, I don't know what to do. Maybe when you're successful, I'll come for my share, and I hope this blood money is enough to make you not look back. Dom shakes his head. I'm not saying it's enough, he says, but I just want to take a risk. Judas looks at Philly. Philly shrugs. I believe my share might not be enough, he admits. I wish the money was all mine, but taking a risk isn't a bad idea. Both of you want to make a life from blood money? Judas says, almost laughing. It's okay, Judas, Dom interrupts, trying to calm things down. Can we just share the money? Yes, and there's one more thing. Let's make a toast after we have our share. He walks over to a corner of the room, opens a shelf, and pulls out a bottle of wine. He brings it back to the round table. For the first time in a while, they all smile. Dom gets excited. We should have a full feast, he suggests. He begs Philly and Judas, saying he'll go get them some meals since this is their very last time working together. And then he rushes out to get the food.
Philly and Judas are left alone. Their eyes lock. Philly finally asks him, Judas, why are you so mean? Why are you so wicked? Judas doesn't say a single word. His face is blank. Philly stands from his chair. He walks towards Judas. He pulls out his gun, and then he shoots Judas in the head. Judas falls to the ground. Meanwhile, Dom has gotten the food. He stops on the road outside the house, and he laces 2 of the food packs with poison. He makes sure to keep those 2 packs separate from his own meal. Back inside, Philly drags Judas's body to a corner of the room, out of sight. He then opens the bottle of wine Judas brought and takes a long drink. Dom enters with the food packs. He sees only Philly. Where is Judas? He asks. Philly points to the corner. Dom looks, and he sees Judas's body. No! Why? Dom screams, his voice filled with shock and horror. Philly looks at Dom. Judas is dangerous, he says. He's a traitor. He threatened to come after us when we settled down. Philly reminds Dom how brutal and unforgiving Judas always was. So what do we do now? Dom asks. Let's share the money and leave. I think we should have enough now. They both agree. Before Dom starts sharing the money, he tells Philly to eat. He passes him one of the poisoned packs of food. Philly looks at the food, then at Dom. I'd prefer your food, Dom, he says. Dom shakes his head. It's all the same, he insists. I'm not changing my food. Philly's eyes narrow. If it's all the same, then it shouldn't matter, he says. He pulls out his gun and points it at Dom. He switches the meals. Eat, Dom. Dom hesitates. He looks at the gun. Then he hears the click of the gun's safety. He starts to eat. As he's eating, Philly watches him. I saw poison in your bag, Philly says, when we were getting ready for the job. I wondered what it meant then. Now I know. After about 20 minutes, Dom starts to sweat. His stomach begins to ache, then to hurt, really badly. He tries to struggle, but the pain gets worse. Philly just watches as Dom moans and cries out, vomiting blood. After some time, Dom falls lifeless to the ground. Philly finally stands up. He grabs the brown leather bag, now filled with all the money. He's about to leave the building, a huge amount of cash, all to himself. Suddenly, he feels a sharp pain in his own stomach.
Slowly, he starts to feel dizzy and weak. He loses strength. His eyes turn red. His stomach burns. He falls to the ground, lying lifeless. What Philly didn't know was this. The day before the operation, Judas had already planned everything. He had secretly poisoned the bottle of wine he brought out. His plan was to poison both Dom and Philly with it so he could take all the money for himself.